All right, I'm here with Daniel from Bear is Gaming, and I'm talking to him today about his new game, Colonization of Mars. How you doing, Daniel?
I'm doing good.
Excellent. So we're here at Tim Hortons, and we're just having a chat. And you were saying that your phone application actually uses Azure on the back end. Why did you end up using Azure for a phone application?
Well, what we wanted to do is we wanted to enable cross-platform play between different devices. So we needed some sort of cloud service that would allow us to communicate with multiple different push mechanisms from the same location.
Multiple different push mechanisms. So what, is this so like the players can talk to each other in the game?
Well, it's so that we can play against each other. Our game supports anywhere between 2 and 4 players at the same time, and you're able to play against each other over the data network in real time or asynchronously. And we wanted to use a web service as a back end, so that way we didn't have to worry about what kind of other device the person is on from the phone itself.
Now, when you say other devices, do you mean other Windows phones, or would that work against if you had the game running on something like an iPhone or an Android phone as well?
Well, we wanted to actually port it to other platforms other than just Windows Phone. So we wanted to be able to communicate with any device that's out there through the Azure backend.
Cool. So with that Azure backend and the web service, I could be playing the game on my Windows phone against another player who's using an Android phone, for example.
Absolutely.
That's really cool. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can host a web service. Why Azure in particular?
Well, we wanted Azure because it's free.
Azure isn't free. Where did you get that? How can you say it's free?
It's free if you're a BizSpark member. So we got set up as a BizSpark member right from the startup, and we wanted to use our free hours on Azure to back our application.
That's really cool. That's right, the BizSpark program, which is for people who are producing software applications on some of the Microsoft platforms. That's a great way to take advantage of BizSpark. Now, when you were designing the application, which parts of the application did you put into the Azure backend?
The Azure backend is basically our communications framework, and it also is our game data repository. So on the device itself, we do keep a copy of the state, but the canonical state is actually out on the web service. So when you create your moves and then you complete your turn, it actually sends the message out to the server that will tell the next player it's their turn and have a copy of the game data as well. And when the next person gets the message that it's their turn, it will actually grab the game data down and allow them to complete their turn as well.
Okay, so all the stuff of keeping track of what's going on in the game between turns and things like that.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. If this was your first time dealing with Azure, was there any moment where you were just banging your head against a wall and ran into an unexpected problems?
Actually, there was. I was having a lot of problems just setting up my database for my Azure backend.
Okay, generally setting up a database isn't usually what people complain about. What did you run into?
The problem is actually that my ISP blocks the port that the database operates over. So I was unable to actually get to the database and actually test using a local virtual machine.
That's a weird problem. How did you get around that in the end? Did you figure out a way to solve it?
Yeah, I actually had to tether onto my cell phone's internet connection and use that to access the database. So all the work that I had to do with the database, including creating my EDO objects, was done on my tethered cell phone connection instead of my home internet. The
things one never expects. If you were going to rebuild this from scratch, is there anything you'd do differently?
Honestly, this is our second app, so I took a lot of the things I learned from the first app and put them into the second app. The biggest problem we had with our first app was like we were using way too much memory, and I almost failed certification over it, and I had to pull out some of my special effects. So this time around, what we did is we were a lot more careful about our memory usage to make sure that we would meet the certification requirements.
That's smart. So you had some unexpected problems. Were there any things that you expected to be more difficult, like nice surprises, things that were easier than you expected?
Yeah, one of the cool things that we did with our app was we reused our push messages and determined when we were getting the new turn push when you're actually inside of a game itself. And what I wanted to do is instead of having like some sort of mechanism where you had to go out of the application to refresh it, I wanted to have it refresh in real time. So I was able to capture those messages, communicate with the server, get the game data, and actually refresh in-game engine. And it worked the first time, which was really surprising. And the amount of code I wrote to do it was maybe 10 lines.
That was with the WCF, the Windows Communication Foundation, for connecting to the web service? Yeah.
I was using WCF, and everything just fell into place perfectly the first time.
Isn't it nice when something, you're expecting to do battle and you don't have to? The first time's a nice bonus. If there was one thing you could say that you feel, look at this application and go, I am really happy with how one specific thing turned out, what would that be?
the one thing that I'm actually really happiest about is just how well everything kind of fell together. Like, our application supports 2 to 4 players, real-time or asynchronous play, and there was very little code that we needed to write in order to communicate with our web service, and to actually facilitate all the gameplay options that we wanted.
Cool. So the multiplayer worked out really well, and just the way you imagined it.
Yeah, it works just the way we wanted it to work.
Cool. So is your game published and available to download now?
Yeah, it is. It's available on the Windows Phone Marketplace as Colonization of Mars, and we are currently porting it to Android. We're expecting it to be ready very soon so that you can play from your Windows Phone with an Android friend.
That's very cool. And where could I find out more about any other games you guys are developing in the future?
Our website is bearisgaming.com, and you can find us there. We're also on Twitter @bearisgaming.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Daniel.
Thank you.